Good evening, everyone. We are now live in Autodesk Community Philippines YouTube channel, CAD Community Asia Facebook page, no, for getting started with Enscape for Revit. So, inviting everyone to please register for you to receive an official certificate of event participation. Okay, and to those who uh, wala pa no sa ating meetup.com, inviting you to join Autodesk Community Philippines in Meetup and in Facebook as well. Okay, and we also have Autodesk Revit User Group Philippines in Facebook and LinkedIn. Please do join us. And CAD Community Asia. Okay, so to those who already registered, we email you the Enscape download link. So we assume that you already downloaded it. Okay, and inviting you to register. And inviting everyone to share our live as well, no? To those who might be, who might be interested, to your colleagues, to your students, co-educators, please do invite them. Okay, so I'll be adding Sir John Mark and our instructor for tonight, Mr. Kaj Burival. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Nancy. Hi to Mark. Yeah, hi.
Okay. So, can you confirm Catch is from Germany?
I can confirm that. I am from Germany. I'm in Germany. Enscape is a German company. So we're from Karlsruhe here in Southwest. And yeah, that's also where I'm born and raised. So absolute confirmed. Thanks for having me, by the way. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to present Enscape today.
Okay, so yeah, let's get started right away.
All right. So I'm going to start share my screen, and you will see. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, don't think I need these tips here. Give me a second. It shows me all the screens to be the same. I hope this is going to be the right one. No. 1 second. All right, this one then. Yeah, so you see, we are starting with a blank screen. Since this is going to be a course that is meant or designed for people to sort of click along, so you can try it at the same time. We have the Enscape installer on this desktop here. This is going to be the first thing that we'll cover, how to install Enscape. If you don't have the Enscape installer yet, be aware you can always go to our website, enscape3d.com, and click Get My Free Trial in order to apply for a 14-day free trial, so you can try it all yourself. If you have your Enscape installer ready already, all you need to do to install Enscape is, first of all, of course, you should be certain you have a machine that meets our system requirements, which means a graphics card that supports OpenGL 4.4 and a Windows operating system. You can check all of that in more detail here on our website in our knowledge base under Get Started System Requirements. So you can check these here, just as well as the CAD software that is supported. And I think I can share that in the chat. I'm not sure. I will leave it in the private chat, and I'm sure Nelsie or Joe Mark can share it with the audience. Yeah. And then we're going to install Enscape. And while we do that, I'm going to tell you what else we are going to have a look at during the session, which is probably going to last, well, over the next hour, maybe hour and 15 minutes. So sorry, Jean-Marc?
Yep.
All right, perfect. So
Shared. The system requirements shared. Posted in
perfect.
the comment section.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
So yeah, all you have to do when you have the installer is just to make sure Revit is not running or any other CAD software we support. And if that's the case, just accept the terms and license agreement. And yeah, choose the language you want to go with. Available in German, Spanish, French, Italian, and Portuguese at the moment, and of course English. And then click install, and Enscape will run through and install Enscape, the Enscape plugin for your CAD software. Once we have installed it, we will have a look at the navigation in Enscape, how to get around, how to get nice perspectives. We will have a look at how to create or how to set up materials to look as well convincingly as possible. We will have a look at lighting in Enscape or in Revit in Enscape, at the settings, at the 3D assets that we ship with Enscape, over 2,000 of them that you can use to set dress your scene. And we will have a look at the exports. So how do I render an image? How do I create a 360-degree panorama to share with anybody right away? We will have a look at how to create a video and render it, and how to create a standalone file, which means to share the entire Enscape experience for free with anybody. So yeah, from start to finish. Awesome. Yeah, right. Exactly. So from start to finish, we will have a look at pretty much everything you need to know to be confident and fluent with Enscape. And yeah, everything of that is live, and you'll be able to click along. So this said, the installation has run through. So anything I have, or all I have to do now is to open Revit. We will be using a sample project of ours. You can download it as well if you want to. You find it, of course, once again on our website. So enscape3d.com. At the very bottom, we have this useful area here, free sample projects. And you can click that and download the first one here, the project RVT file. And this is exactly what we're going to use today. I have already saved it for Revit 2021, so I'm using my own file here, but apart from that, it is identical. However, if you don't want to go using this file, you don't have to. Everything we're going to do is very much the same if you use the sample architecture project, which is shipped with Revit, or use any of your projects. It really does not depend on this particular project. But if you want to click along, you can go with this one. So a little overview. What exactly is Enscape in the first place? Well, Enscape is a visualization plugin, a real-time visualization software that allows for architects, professionals, anybody who's working with a CAD software to visualize their project in a realistic fashion, as you see it here, with just one click. So if you, the audience, if you have ever visualized using any workflow before, and I've seen a lot of them from 3ds Max to V-Ray to Keyshot to all the different solutions that are out there. Usually you have to be really highly trained to know how to get the result you're looking for. Usually you have to set a lot of settings to create or to get the result to look correctly, to look realistic, and you have to adapt it to each and every single project. And we've seen this struggle, so to say, because of course it is a lot of additional knowledge that is necessary and a lot of additional time for a professional like an architect. So oftentimes visualizations have been outsourced to specialized companies, or again would just take up a lot of time. And in the worst case, the project has already moved on once you get those images or whichever way you want to visualize your project. And what we've noticed is tedious workflow in the industry, and we thought, well, Revit, all those CAD softwares, they actually have all the information that is necessary to create a correct visualization. I mean, you have something like even the location on the planet in Revit, for example. Where are we located? How should the sun shine onto it? So why can't we just preset everything in the most ideal fashion for the professional and just let them do their thing? And that's exactly what Enscape is. So this said, I can open up any project I want to, if it's one of our sample projects or any other one, and just go to the new Enscape ribbon we now have in our Revit interface. This one here. Oh, I'm just sorry. I just noticed I was just recording a different video. So right now, Enscape is in German for me. I will change this to English. I apologize for the delay. I will need to restart Revit quickly, but I think that should leave us some time for anybody who is currently downloading and installing Enscape and maybe the sample project to get themselves set. Yeah, but as you have seen, we now have an additional Enscape toolbar in Revit, and to get the visualization out of Enscape, we just need to click the Start button. Enscape will load for approximately 20-30 seconds, and from there on, we could actually already share the result or create exports. But of course, we want to discover the details in or to look at the details a little more closely.
Quick.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
A powerful machine.
It's okay. I mean, it's not the most powerful. I mean, for Enscape, if you're interested, it's all about the graphics card. So
Nice.
Enscape being a real-time engine, just like any game, to perform properly, it's a question of the graphics card. And in my case, it's not a bad graphics card. It's a GTX 1080 I have built in here. But if you know the current graphics card market, it is not the latest model. It's not the most powerful model. But Enscape is really, really optimized. So what I said initially, Enscape being a simple and accessible solution that really goes throughout the whole Enscape experience. We really try to make it available for anybody. We really try to make it usable for anybody, whether they have a technical background or not. And yeah, that's also a matter of speed and ease of access, of course. If you haven't seen it because it was too quick, here what now says pause live updates. When Enscape is not started, that's the start button. So if you have your Revit already opened, be it any project, if you have a 3D view in your project, that is a requirement, just click this button here to the very left, and Enscape will open in a separate window and load in all the details from your Revit project and from that given 3D view. That's already a hint at what we're going to look at later. Your 3D view settings are important. If something is hidden in the 3D view you have currently selected, it will not show up in Enscape. But that's just the beginning. So let's wait for Enscape to load, and we will have a closer look in a second.
Once more, this is a plug-in, right? So
Correct.
okay.
So there is no, I mean, you can create standalone experiences using Enscape, and we will have a look at that in the end of the session. But apart from that, Enscape is only ever connected to your CAD, to Revit. And all the changes you do to your scene happen in Revit. Almost all of them. We will have a look at some settings, of course, for Enscape distinctively. But that is the whole principle and the whole benefit of Enscape. All the scene you see, as I said, this was loaded from Revit automatically, and there is nothing in terms of settings I have set previously. So this is what Enscape looks like. Well, almost by default, we have a custom environment here in the background. So let me align Revit on one half of the screen here. And let's reset my visual settings, actually. So, and then we will see Enscape looking exactly what it looks like out of the box, which is this. So we have, by default, this white empty environment. But as you see, I can start navigating through my scene right away. I can start changing the daytime right away. We will have a look in a second on how to do that. So we can have a look at it by night or during dawn or something. And not just that, but this is the big revelation. Any changes I perform in Revit will update in Enscape immediately. So for example, I can move this person here to the sides. Hope they don't hurt themselves when jumping into the water when there is no water in front of them. And as you see, Enscape will update this right away. But this is just the beginning. Once again, that's not just true for moving objects or changing parameters, for example, but also for visibility settings. So if I said let's hide all families from this category. In this case, it's a planting family. Maybe I'll get to show later why that's the case. But let's say I want to hide this whole category, which means all of my 3D assets will be hidden in this 3D view. As you see, Enscape will update that as well. And it goes further. You can set up design options in your Revit project. You can apply section boxes. Anything that changes the geometry in your Revit project is being updated and synchronized right away. So you can now, just by starting Enscape, just by installing and starting Enscape, you can then continue using your existing workflows in Revit, what you've trained, what you're working with every day. And Enscape just follows. So Enscape is not just a plugin, it is more like a dynamic window into your Revit visualization that always shows the current state of your Revit project correctly, but in a realistic way for you to visualize and communicate your design with any customer, any partner, without them having to understand Revit and floor plan drawings, etc. Okay, that's the main principle. Shortly summarized, I would say it's great quality visualization in the hands of everybody without any additional effort. This said, let's have a look at our first point that we want to discuss today. It's navigation. By default, we start with this little help sheet we have at the bottom here that shows us how to navigate. If you don't want to see it, you can always hide it by pressing the H key on your keyboard, and you can always bring it up this way. At first, we see in the left part of our navigation panel here, we are controlling Enscape, or we're moving around using WASD. So you can try it on your keyboard. You can press W to move forwards, S to move backwards, A to move to the left, and D to move to the right. You can also use your arrow keys if you want to. Same effect, but it's more comfortable on the left hand because we also need our mouse to navigate. But more on that later. So if you have ever played any 3D games, this might be a common knowledge for you, and you don't need to get familiar with it, which is great. In that case, you're very much set to explore your project landscape right away. If you are new to this kind of movement, I usually recommend for you to get accustomed to it by just pressing the W key and left-click into the Enscape window. And this will allow you, by moving the mouse, to change the direction you're looking into. And by holding W and the left mouse button, at the same time, you can then steer by simply moving your mouse to move in any direction you want to go to, up and down and right. So this is great for you to get accustomed to this way of navigation. I highly recommend to do so because it just opens another layer of freedom with Enscape, and it really helps to simplify navigation in Enscape.
God, so it's just the same when you're a gamer playing with games in a first-person shooter mode.
Exactly. Right? Well, almost. To look around in Enscape, you need to have the left mouse button pressed. But apart from that, yes, exactly. If you are a gamer, if you've played any video game using the WASD control scheme, you will feel right at home. It goes
Nice.
even further, by the way. If you wanted to connect an Xbox controller to your computer, Enscape will recognize that automatically as well. So you can use an Xbox controller just as well. Even this help sheet down here will change to adapt to that change. Or if you have a 3D connection space mouse, you can use that as well to navigate with Enscape. Will be detected and used correctly right away. Okay, let's have a further look. So next to that, you also see E and Q to move up and down. I can't do that right now, and if that same thing happens for you, I have the solution, because if you see this in the upper right corner, you are in walk mode. And we can switch to fly mode. Now we see some wings here. We have some footsteps and some wings. If there's these wings in the upper left corner, you can go upwards using using E, and you can go downwards using Q. And you can switch between these two modes of navigation as well by pressing the space bar. As you see, we fall down. No worries, Joe Mark, there is no fall damage, so you don't have to worry about your feet. The Enscape camera guy, so to say, he's indestructible. Okay, in walk mode, by the way, we have collisions. So if I wanted to walk through an obstacle, in this case, it's not possible. In this case, it is, because this is a door family, and Enscape will look out for door families in Revit and will not apply any collisions to these. So you can always move through doors, but not through anything else, unless you switch to fly mode again by pressing the space bar, which will then allow you to move through any obstacle. By the way, Joe Mark, if you ever have any, or if you feel like I should go into further detail on something, or if you have any questions, or somebody else, feel free to interrupt me just like that. That's totally appreciated.
Yep. Evelyn Banyares, thank you for joining us. She commented, very smooth navigating inside. Kind of same
Good.
like Navisworks.
Good to hear that. Yeah, once again, we try to be as usable, as simple to use, as undemanding or non-demanding as possible. So yeah, that's great to hear. If you, by the way, feel like you're moving too fast in the beginning, which might be the case, especially in smaller projects, here's a tip: go to Settings, General Settings, Input. So here, Settings, General Settings, Input, and here you can change the mouse speed. So that's the looking around. You can change the mouse smoothing, but most importantly, the movement speed. You can dial it down. That way, it leaves you more control to navigate and move around in a controlled way. And you can also enable a little bit of movement smoothing, which makes for this nice effect as if we're on ice. So we're gliding a little bit. Okay, if you're moving too slow, you can always press the Shift key to move faster, or the Control key to move even faster than that. Or you can press both at the same time, which makes you move really fast. Or if you are, for whatever reason, really far away from your project and you want to move there really quick, you can also just double-click inside of Enscape, and it will bring you to the location you have clicked. Once again, double-click anywhere, and it will bring you right there. A different way to navigate Enscape, or to orbit around an object, is to right-click that object, or right-click and hold the mouse button. So I'm clicking this wall here, for example, and that will be my pivot. That will be the center point of my rotation. So I can just click here, move the mouse, and I will start rotating around that point that I've clicked before, which also is a good way to go, or to navigate if you want to just navigate using your mouse. Or you can also hold the middle mouse button to pan, so to move upwards, sideways, left and right, and you can use the mouse wheel to zoom in or zoom out. So as you see, very much every way of navigation is is very much tackled here. And you won't be surprised to hear that we also have a knowledge base article on navigation, of course, with everything I explained here and much more for you to look up at any point. And I will share that. Wait, is it here? No, probably in Get Started. There, Control and Input. And I will share this link with Joe Mark as well to share with the audience. Here you go. There are a number of, a large number of commands in here as well. Let's have a look at these. So your numpad, the area with those number keys on the right of your keyboard, you can use that as well. Fairly similar like the view cube here in Revit. So in Revit, if I click to front here, it will show me my project from a front perspective, top, etc. And the same thing can be done with Enscape with the number keys, with the numpad. So if I press 2 in Enscape, it will show me the project from front, 4 from the left. So you can imagine like the 5 on your numpad field. The 5 is sort of your project, and whatever you press, it's looking from that direction towards the 5. So 6 is from the right. And if I press 5, it will show me the top-down view on my project. And I can press 0 at any point to return to my starting point. So where my 3D view that I started this Enscape session in was located at that point. All right. Let me see. Did I forget anything about navigation? No, I think we've covered the most of it. One more thing. We can change the daytime. I've showed you before. We can do that using Shift and the right mouse button at the same time. So you see that down here. Shift and the right mouse button, and then moving the mouse will change the daytime dynamically. So really nice control here. You can also achieve the same effect by pressing U or I. And let's say you want to break the laws of physics and break the natural trajectory of the sun. So we're not going for realism here. We're going for a nice look. You can hold Shift and U and I. That's also written in that knowledge base article that I've shared with you. And that will move the sun outside of its natural trajectory. So I can press Shift and U and I, or Control and U and I, and that will move the sun around different axes. Play around with it a little bit, but this allows you to position the sun anywhere you like for that perfect rendering shot. Okay, another way of navigating is your 3D views. So you have a couple of 3D views in Revit. And again, as I mentioned before, these can hold different view settings, like, again, section boxes, design options that are connected to certain views, daytimes that are connected to certain views. However, in this sample project, I seem to have just one 3D view. So I could now begin setting up 3D views from within Revit, but I'm too lazy to do that because I can do that much quicker using Enscape. Because you can take your current location in Enscape and the current daytime and save a 3D view from that right away. Before I do that, I would like to reset my sun to its natural trajectory. I can do that using the Home key or Position 1 key on my keyboard. Again, also written down in that knowledge base article. And let's find a nice daytime now that actually meets the correct trajectory. And let's say I want to save this as a 3D view in Revit. What do I have to do? I'll go to Tools up here. By the way, this is the collapsed toolbar or the collapsed Enscape ribbon. If you have Revit in full screen, which we recommend, so if you have two monitors, you can use Enscape in full screen on one and Revit in full screen on the other. This is what it looks like. We could click Create 3D View right here. Or if you have your Revit window like I have aligned to one half of the screen, this is what it looks like. And I just need to click Tools and Create 3D View. Enscape will ask me, hey, what's that 3D view supposed to be named? Let's say we call this evening full, something like that. And voila, we have it in our 3D views in Revit. I can click it in Revit. I can treat it just the way that I treat any 3D view. So it's nothing special about it. But now I can also select this view in my 3D view selector here. So you see we have all of our 3D views in our Revit project. We also have them in this drop-down menu. And guess what? If I change the daytime and select this 3D view again, the daytime has also been saved in that 3D view in Revit and is being read by Enscape. So any settings you set up, or let's test that as well. Let's say we want to have maybe one more view without those these tree assets as I did before. Let's say I'm going to hide all these. No, let's go back to my default 3D view because I want to leave this one as it is. And let's hide all of these in view. Oh, sorry, elements, not category. Let's hide the whole category. Let's wait for Enscape to update. And make sure, by the way, oh, yeah, sorry. This is a usual mistake, by the way. So great this happened to me. I was waiting for Enscape to update now. But I have changed the view settings in my regular 3D view, in my, what's it called? The default 3D view. But in Enscape, currently, I'm in my view evening full. And as I mentioned earlier, Enscape reads the actual view settings. So to see my changes, I need to switch to, well, my default 3D view in Enscape. And let's say I want to create a new one, a new view. Something like this. It will take the settings that I have set up in, let's call it empty. It will take the settings in my currently selected 3D view in Revit. And once again, this means this allows us to switch between different kinds of visualizations really, really quick. Not just with plans and without plans, but that means you can prepare one 3D view where the walls are hidden to show the plumbing inside of your model. You can prepare one 3D view with a certain design options like kitchen 1 or kitchen A, kitchen B, kitchen C. You can prepare a 3D view with a section box in it. So I like to call this a little bit like the Enscape PowerPoint presentation, because you can, just using your existing workflows with 3D views in Revit, you can create or you can prepare a whole presentation up front that adapts to what you want to show in that particular moment. So yeah, really want to highlight that. Really, really powerful tool. Just logs into your existing Revit functionality, but it's so powerful for a client presentation or, again, a discussion amongst the team members, etc. By the way, I think I want to show, let me just, if I Control Z, it will probably, yeah, it deleted my new view, but I wanted just to have my plans back. That was the quickest way, at least for me. Okay, that would probably finish our navigation. Just wanted to really point out that you can use your 3D views for that as well. You can even mark your 3D views as favorites, which will then make them show up. So sorry, you can mark them as favorites by clicking the star symbol in each or next to each 3D view. And this will lead to these views to show up inside of Enscape as well. So you can navigate in there. You can even use page up and page down to jump through various views. Okay. That covers most of what there is to know about navigation. So let's have a look at materials in Enscape for Revit. Well, if I said initially that you can open up any kind of project right away, and it will show up properly. This means obviously that the materials are being read correctly and immediately. Let me check one thing, because I'm a little bit confused that all my textures are showing up correctly at the moment. If that is not the case for you, by the way, let me digress a bit, but show you a really useful workflow if you ever want to move a Revit project from one computer to another or share with a partner. Because if you have any custom-made materials in your Revit project, the textures that you use to create those materials, if you don't know what textures are, don't worry, we'll have a look at that in a second. But the textures, the image files that make up the parameters or the attributes of a material, those are not being saved in your Revit project. So if you just share your Revit file, whoever else opens it might have, blank materials, and it doesn't look as convincingly as it could. If that's the case, just save all of your textures, all the images you use to create a material in one folder and share that folder with them. And then they will need to go to File, Options, Rendering, and add an additional render appearance path here. In this case, with this sample project that I have, I could go here and load the textures just in case. And once I do that, not Enscape, Revit will go through all the materials that are used in that scene and check if there is a texture that is not being found. And if there is a texture that is not found, it will look in that folder for a file with the same name. That means all the textures that are missing, if they're in that folder, they will be found right away. If you have downloaded our sample project, by the way, there should be a description for that as well. So let me just have a look at the file. And there's an instruction included, and that's exactly where you can see how to do that. So that's really useful in case you ever want to share your project with other partners. But yeah, let's have a look at first, where do these materials come from in the first place? How does Enscape know what this is supposed to look like? Well, as everything with Enscape, it just takes this information directly from the model. So we can go, or we can click on any kind of family or any kind of floor or whatever, and isolate the material we have on there. Didn't want to edit the model, just want to select it. There we go. Why won't you let me select the floor? Let's go with this one then. Or actually, let me create a new view inside of our building, because that's what I want to create. And once again, since I'm lazy, I don't want to navigate there in Revit. I will just create a new view from within Enscape to Revit. And just jump there right away. So here's my floor. And we have a material on this. Usually that's hidden under, either you see the material right here, or you'll need to click Edit Type and open the structure. And now here we have a structural material. And the top material here is our floor parquet. Let's just open this and see if that's the right material. It looks like it, but if I want to be really sure, let me just maybe tint it quickly to see if we see the changes pop up. So let's make it red, click Apply, and yeah, we have the right material here. And as you see, that also means Enscape is just taking the material input from within Revit and interpreting it correctly. So let's reset this. We could go with this material. We could also go with any of the materials that come shipped with Revit. So if you don't want to create your own materials, that's fine. You can go with any of these. You can replace them, or replace the asset. Is it called asset? Yeah. So once again, we can click this little material or this little icon down here to open the asset browser. Go to this appearance library here, and we have literally hundreds of materials we can pick from. All of those work great. I would recommend, if you want to have the full control over your material, Don't go with any of the, well, specific types like ceramic here, for example. Whenever possible, go with a generic type, simply because Revit gives you more control over those type of materials. Although all of those work the same for Enscape, but generic types can be edited more easily in Revit, or create a new material, and that would be a generic material as well. But just to prove my point, I can choose this this material that I've picked from the appearance library, and as you see, it works perfectly fine in Enscape right away. But that is too easy, at least for me. I rather want to create my own material because I want to have full control. Now I want to decide myself what it looks like. So for that, as mentioned, I will need textures, and I will create a new material here. And one quick tip here, if you create a new material or apply an entirely new material to one object and perform any changes to it, apply will not show them at first. This is good to know. If you ever change the actual material that is connected to an object, you first need to click OK twice for 3 times for Revit to actually realize that that material has been changed. And it will then communicate that change to Enscape as well, of course, and then we can reopen the material and click apply to see any changes immediately. This set, let's reopen it. And let's have a look at the appearance tab. By the way, always use the appearance tab to control material attributes for Enscape, simply because this tab holds all of the, well, again, texture, information, and everything that is necessary to create a photorealistic and convincing material. Let's change this back to some default color. And now we see the material in its purest form. We have 50% glossiness, we have a gray color, we have none of the other attributes applied in any way. All of these attributes work. If you want to make it, for example, more glossy, we can just dial this up and it will become more and more reflective. If we wanted to create a metal material, for example, we could change the highlights to look metallic. We could make it self-illuminate and emit an actual glow. Now, this floor isn't the best example for that, but it should still show you. Let's apply, and you will see it will actually emit light. So even if we change to night, the scene is really lit by this material. So that's great for any kind of neon lights, for example, monitors. So that is being supported just as well. So all of the material attributes that you have in Revit are supported and work nicely. So if you have any experience with those, you can just continue, or you can get going right away and create your own materials. I, however, want to show you now the, in my opinion, ideal workflow for 95% of all materials, as long as you have the textures. I have some textures prepared for this case. That's these 4 here, which we're going to use to create a new wooden floor. If you want to look for your own kind of textures, there is plenty of websites out there where you can download this kind of texture packages. The one that I've used for this is cc0textures.com up here, and you will see there is plenty of materials for you to choose from. And all of these work nicely with Enscape. The one I picked for this example was this one, wood floor 41. But again, it really doesn't matter. All of these work fine. Of course, for a metal material, you will need to apply metal highlights in Revit. For a wood material, you won't. But apart from that, this workflow applies to all of them. So feel free to pick your own material of choice. Just make sure you have these textures at hand then. And essentially, we could use any kind of images. We could use photographs for this. The major benefit of these textures is they are tileable. So they are made to be tiled and for you not to recognize it too clearly. Because in Revit, as you know, any texture that you load in will always be tiled over and over across the whole surface. And if the textures are not prepared for that, you will see the borders or the edges between those tiles, and that doesn't look too good. So that's why I go with the CC0 textures. Really, I really enjoy that. You can, of course, also go to other sources like polygon.com or other sources. These are paid. There are some free textures there. Many of these are paid. You can get them for a couple of cents, so they're really affordable. But they have much more choice or a much larger number of materials for you to choose from. Or, well, get your textures from anywhere. If you have ever found yourself a good texture source, very likely all of these will work just the same way. How exactly? Well, let's begin. Let's first of all load in a image texture right here. And I go to my textures folder here. And I will pick the color texture for my color input. Just click open, click apply, and let's check the scale. Okay, we see right away that is probably a little bit too small. We see them repeat themselves very, very heavily, and yeah, that's just no realistic wooden planks there. So I'll just click the texture editor or the image of the texture to open the texture editor. And we see that's 30 centimeters. That doesn't look like 30 centimeters. So let me go down here and change the sample size to, I would guess that's more like 3 meters. So let's go for 300. Done. And apply. And let's check. Yeah, that looks better. And with that. So as visualizers, as 3D artists, as someone who wants to convince anybody with a digitally created image, our goal, in my opinion, is always to go from perfection to, well, imperfection. Because it is really easy to create something perfect on a computer. You draw a square, it's perfect. There's no scratches, there is no dust on it. But that's not real life. Real life always is a little bit chaotic. You always have surface imperfections. And for a really high-class rendering, like the ones, by the way, if you ever want to have a look at that, like the ones we have in our beautiful showcase. If you want to create something convincing like that, you want to have some imperfections on it, because that's, again, what real life looks like. And textures, these materials, are the best way to achieve that, to achieve this kind of detail. How to do that? Well, we are one step closer. We have added our color texture here. But this doesn't look like convincing wood, right? This looks like someone printed a wood pattern on some plastic interface. So the color texture is a good way to start and to make this look more, chaotic. But we have 2 more textures we want to use. And to highlight how exactly those work, let me dial down the image fade at first, so we don't see the color texture. It's still there, but we don't see it anymore. And let me load a glossiness texture. So glossiness, once again, controls the reflectivity of our floor. And for example, on a wooden surface like we have here, we have some imperfections in that reflectivity as well. So we can control the glossiness using a texture as well. And the texture I'm going to use for that, and you should too, is the roughness texture. Now, this is a little bit of a specific case for Revit, because here we have the glossiness. In some other tools, you will have the roughness. It's essentially the same parameter. It's just inverted. So if something is glossy, it's not rough, and if something is rough, it is not glossy or not reflective. So we can still use this texture. We just need to invert the image to get the same result that the creator of the texture had in mind. So I'm going to do that. And of course, I also want to make it the same scale as my other texture. And what will happen now is Revit, and therefore Enscape, will interpret the black and white parts, the brightness on this image, and will essentially control the slider on that particular part to more to 0 or more to 100. So let's see what that looks like. I'm just going to apply it. And now you see we have some, this is no color. This is no geometry or something. This is just the reflection or the reflectivity of the material that has changed. But you already see we have these beautiful worn out parts on our wood here and there. And these are the little tiny secrets that really convince a viewer later on when they see your rendering, your finished result. Let me change the sun angle a little bit to shine a little bit onto this. And that's really, you don't need to actively see it, but it works subconsciously really strong to sell the feel of a surface. This said, if we dial up the image fade again and bring in our color texture 2, we see we're getting somewhere. But the major ingredient to a really convincing material is the bump map down here. The bump map is, well, the closest thing to actually changing the geometry. So, you have a perfect flat surface here right now. We have a different color, we have different reflectivities, but we have a perfectly flat surface. Now, if you wanted to model all of this detail, you would take probably years to have this floor done. But we can just add a bump map, and the bump map will tell the render, Enscape, hey, this is a flat surface, but if there is a brighter part, can you please act as if it's extruded from the surface? And if there's a darker part, can you please just act as if it's pushed in, as if there is a cavity in that surface? And the renderer can do that. The renderer can just calculate the lighting and the reflections just according as if there was this detail. And that is incredibly powerful. So let's have a look at that. I will use the displacement texture for that. I could also go with a normal texture, but I prefer the displacement texture. Let's open it. We don't invert it. And I'm just going to change the sample size again to fit the other textures. Done. And let's see what this does. Actually, let me get rid of the color texture one more time. And let's try to, let's switch this to slider as well. So we only have this bump texture in a second. Oh yeah, and that's the case. So here's our bump texture. Let's disable it to see the change. So no surface relief here, and there we are. And here you see too, this adds so much depth and believability to your surface, and that's still just getting started because the default amount we have here, amount of 30, is really low by default in Revit. We can dial this up a bit, and we'll see it will get even stronger and even better. And this way you can really decide for your material for yourself, the surface, imperfections, the actual behavior of the surface. Let's bring in the other textures too. There we go. And this is our first finished material. Now, this bump texture, by the way, we could still make it a lot stronger than that. Let's see what it looks like this. Yeah, and as you see, changing light situations, the shadows are being displayed correctly. So depending on the lighting angle, this also really acts correctly. But this is the bump feature itself is more for, mostly flat surfaces that have some irregularities like wood, for example. Let's say we have something like cobblestone or bricks or something that has really strong changes in its geometry. We have added a second type of bump maps, a displacement type, which will be enabled as soon as you drive this bump amount over 500. If you do that, this is the result you're going to get. Okay, that's still a little bit weak. Let's dial it up even stronger. And well, it doesn't perfectly fit for our wood material now, at least not for this texture. But you see, this will change the scale or the radius of effect we have here even stronger. So if you have something like a cobblestone or like rock, something like that, this is what you can use that for. I, however, will dial this back to regular bump map strength for my wood material here. So yeah, this is a really useful workflow in my opinion. Do this for all of the surfaces that will be visible in your rendering, and your rendering is very sure to be as close to photorealistic as possible. Let's see. Yeah, one more thing regarding materials. If you, for example, have a water material in Revit, as you see here, it's being interpreted as water right away. So there is literally nothing done about this material. Let's see if I can pick it, or I probably can just search for the water material. Yeah, let me just open the material settings, or sorry, the material window from the Manage tab, and let's look for water. And this is this one. And here too, if we change, for example, the color, any changes should be displayed correctly if it's the right one. Let's see. Whoops, I canceled. I misclicked. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter. Just wanted to show that water materials from Revit are also being displayed and interpreted correctly right away. And the same thing, well, not the same thing, a similar thing with grass. How does Enscape know that this is supposed to be actual grass with actual grass blades that sway in the wind? Once again, I can only return to our initial message. Enscape tries to take as much of these settings off of you as possible. So if we don't need any input, we try to find it ourselves. So in this case, Enscape is just looking for the word grass in the material name. If your material name contains the word grass, it will be displayed like this. If we change the name, I hope that's the right material. Let's see. Guess it was the other one. And now you see the grass is gone. So yeah, Enscape is just looking for the material name here, and if it contains the word grass, it will be displayed as actual grass blades, while it takes the color, by the way, from the material. So if you want to have red grass, you can do that. If you want to have a carpet material like this that doesn't sway in the wind, because it's inside, of course, the same thing with carpet. If your material name contains the word carpet, it will be displayed as a carpet, well, as a fuzzy carpet like that. Okay, I see we have progressed in time a little faster than I thought, so maybe my presentation will take 1.5 hours. Let's check. Next thing on my line is lighting. Lighting will be really quick because it's simple. Enscape just takes your lighting from Revit correctly. Any light shape, any light distribution type you have set in Revit, all of that is being displayed correctly. Even IES web files, as you see here. If you have experience with lighting in Revit, you can just continue like you did before. You can change the initial intensity to change the brightness. You can change the color if you want to have some red light, for example. Let's see what that looks like. If we have the correct, did I change that for the whole family by now, or for just for that one instance? Let's see, for the whole family. So yeah, as you see, you can choose these parameters yourself. And if we open the family here and have a look at the light source definition, all of these types are being supported correctly, be it a full spherical or hemispherical or spot, light distribution type, or any shape, or an IES web file. All of these are being supported correctly. So literally, there is nothing much for you to know about. Let me Control Z, back to white light. Or I'll have this police song stuck in my head for the rest of the day. And you don't want me to start singing here. So, apart from that, one more thing regarding artificial lighting. One little tip: if, for example, you have set up your lighting in your whole space, for example, and you want it to show up during day, it usually doesn't, because artificial lighting is usually much dimmer than sunlight. But if you want it to show up during day, you can go into all of your lighting families and dial up the initial intensity, or you can go to the Enscape settings, visual settings, atmosphere tab, and we have one slider for the global artificial light brightness. So you can control all of the artificial lights in your scene in one go using this slider. So you don't have to go into each and every one separately. One more thing, I've mentioned that in the beginning already, but in terms of natural lighting, the light or the sun angle is being derived from your sun settings. To have the best results, I recommend to go with still. And here you can choose a daytime, you can choose a date, and you can choose a location. And we can literally jump through this default city list here, and you will see the sun angle changing depending on where we are on the planet. So you see sun angle is changing. If, for example, do we have anything in the Philippines? Not sure how we can search in this list. I haven't done that before. But yeah, if you want to set the correct location for your project to have a sun study, for example, you can do it in Enscape easily. By the way, mentioning sun study, let's have a look at some of our lighting mode or our rendering modes. You can even enable a sun study mode with a dynamic scale in Enscape, and you can render videos and renderings with that, with time lapses. So yeah, whatever you want to do for a sun study should be easily possible using Enscape. But we'll have a closer look into that later on too. Okay, lighting. Next point actually is settings, so I can return to that. Maybe at this point I should, however, start with a short overview on the icons we have in our toolbar and what they do. So we have the start button, which is now the pause live updates. Pause live updates just means if you change anything in your Revit scene, it will not change in Enscape unless you reactivate them, which is especially great if you are fine-tuning a section box, which can lead to longer loading times in Enscape. And if every single change is causing a loading time, you usually want to pause the live updates. We have a enable VR button with which I can view everything in a virtual reality headset. Any of the connected, or any of the, let's say the Oculus-based headsets, HTC-based headsets. Oh, my Oculus noticed I picked it up and woke up. So yeah, these headsets are being supported, and you can enable VR with just one click, and you can put on your headset and explore the model right away in very much the same graphics as in non-VR. So really, really easy and accessible here as well. By the way, if you create an EXE standalone, which we'll have a look at later on as well, that is VR compatible too. So if your client has a VR headset, you can just export them, your project, in an Enscape file with one click, and they can explore it in VR at their system. We have the Take Screenshot menu here, which allows you to create a rendering, still image rendering, We have this export button, which I've just mentioned, to create an exe standalone. We have the create 3D view, which we've had a look at already. We have the connection to our asset library, which we will have a look at in the next part of this session. We have the ability to load or save a camera path if we want to render a video. We can render a panorama and manage the uploaded panorama or web standalones. We can also place sound in our scene to have some ambience, and we have our two settings types. The general settings, we've covered them earlier already. They have the customization, which we will have a look at later on too. Again, input that controls your speed and smoothness. You can control the performance here, your licensing to enable license, etc., and other preferences. But the really interesting settings part for your visualization are, of course, your visual settings. So let's have a look at these. The first tab of these visual settings is the rendering tab. Here we can define, well, the overall style of our visualization. So for example, I can add some outlines to make it look a little bit more cartoonish. We can add a rendering mode, like for example, white mode. If you haven't worked on your materials too much yet, and you just want to, communicate the rough spaces for the client, this is a great mode to go with because it simplifies everything and it makes it look like it's made from paper. Or we can enable the light view that shows us in looks how much light is falling onto each and every surface. Here we can also change, for example, the brightness of my image. We can change the projection perspective, which we can also do up here, which lets me switch between, well, regular perspective, a 2-point perspective, which will force every vertical line to show up vertically, or we can go for the full orthographic display, which, is a orthographic display. If you know what it is, that's great. If not, it is like if you're very far away from a scene and you're zoomed in and there is no depth distortion anymore, which is equal to what you see in nature documentaries, for example, when there is, the tiger and some giraffes and they look as if they're close together, but they're actually, it's just really, really zoomed in very far. So that's the same effect. By the way, that's great for floor plan renderings. If you're in orthographic view, you can switch, you can press 5 to position yourself on top of your project and cut off the roof using a section box, and you'll have a beautiful floor plan rendering right away in Enscape graphics. Okay, here we also have some depth of field. Depth of field is this beautiful effect from DSLR cameras or SLR cameras, which means I can enable some blur that lessens to one specific distance from the camera. And you can control the distance from the camera yourself by disabling autofocus and controlling the focal point distance. And that way we can beautifully control the attention of the viewer. And also it really makes it look like a high quality photograph or rendering. So you can set that up right away in Enscape in the settings. And you see we're closely approaching the actual still image rendering here. So this is really determining the outcome of our exports later on. Let's see. We can also control the field of view here. So if you want to have a fisheye lens effect, or if you want to zoom in really closely, you can do that here. By the way, these two attributes, the depth of field and the field of view, so zoom and, well, sharpness or blur, we can animate that in the video we're going to create later on too. So we can look forward to that. First of all, one more thing, the rendering quality slider down here. I would simply leave this on high at all times if possible. The changes between ultra and medium and high, they are yeah, they're visible, but they're not that extreme. If you switch to draft, if you have a weak machine, that might be useful. But for the rendering, for the actual rendering, I would dial back to high or ultra, so you get the best quality result out of your Enscape visualization. The image tab, you know this already from any other 2D editing software or from your TV. Here you can change the contrast for highlights and shadows, make them stronger or make them weaker. You can change the saturation. So if you want to have a black and white visualization, you're good to go. If you want to dial this up and have some overcolored, abstract looking experience, you're good to go. By the way, if you ever want to reset one particular slider to its default values, you can double click it, and that will reset it, well, to its default value. If you want to reset all of these to their default, you can do it up here in the presets. And you might have noticed that we can also load and save presets. And we can actually connect these presets to particular views if we want to batch render them. If we want to render all of my views in one go, I can connect a settings preset using this chain icon here. Well, I don't have a preset yet, but I could connect them to these views in particular to have one rendering with depth of field and the other without, but maybe in black and white, etc. So just so you're aware, that is possible as well. Oh, wrong settings. Here. Apart from that, we can change the color temperature. We can change the lens flare strength, for example. Let's look into the sun. Yeah, so you see that a bit, etc. But these are really more or less the visual effect settings. Way more interesting, in my opinion, is the atmosphere tab, because this describes the actual environment for your Enscape or for your visualization. So here, for example, we could add some fog like this, and have a look at these beautiful rays we have now. Volumetric shadows, they're called, or sometimes they're called God rays in Unreal, for example. This is really great to highlight some really detailed geometry. If you want to go for this artistic style, it's really, really beautiful, and you can create beautiful renderings using that. We can also, first of all, let me change our environment. So we have the horizon area here, where we can go with one of our pre-designed or predefined horizon presets, 360-degree photos, but the sky has been removed, so we can still have various daytime effects. So if you just want to have some background for your scene, these are really, really great. Or you can also decide to load in a skybox. Skybox can be a 360-degree image of any source. So if you want to create your own ones using a specialized camera, if you want to download them from any source, for example, HDRI Haven is a common site for that. This is what it looks like, HDRI Haven. And here we can download, well, other environments. Let me go with this one, actually. This looks nice. And load this as a skybox into our Enscape environment. So you can create these 360-degree images yourself. You can use an app on your mobile phone to do that. You can use a specialized camera. As you see, the lighting still comes from our sun. But you can also, that's not really realistic in this case, but you can also choose the brightest sun, point a sun direction, which means Enscape will adapt the lighting to the actual skybox source. At least it will try to do that. It doesn't work in night settings, but for this example, it should be sufficient. So yeah, those are some ways to define your environment. You can also, for example, change the clouds. We can dial up the cloud intensity to have a more, fall kind of setting, some darker atmosphere here. or get rid of clouds overall. We can also get rid of the cirrus clouds up here. We can control the contrail amount and so on and so forth. So you can really decide for yourself what should my cloud, my sky look like, and my environment. I can change the night sky brightness in here. We don't see that too much because my artificial lights are so bright right now. So keep that in mind. We have an auto exposure setting in Enscape, so it will always try to equalize the brightness in the image so you see the most. So if you have a really, really bright light somewhere, it's possible the rest will show up darker. Keep that in mind to get beautiful nighttime renderings like this. Actually, where is my moon? Well, it's not a real beautiful nighttime rendering if the moon is not in a natural size. And so you see, you can really control yourself what your visualization should look like. Okay, and lastly, we have the capture tab where you define the your exports and, for example, the resolution up here. You can also decide for additional rendering layers. You can even set up a default folder and a hotkey to create renderings, so you don't have to click the button every time. And you can control the video settings, etc. Usually, however, you can leave everything as it is. So before we render our first image, let's have a look at our assets quickly. The assets are my trees and these persons here. You've noticed them probably because they don't look like your everyday Revit content, because usually you cannot load in actual 3D models with texture information into Revit. So that's also why, let's go back to my interior look here. That's also why these assets don't really show up in Revit the same way they do in Enscape. We don't want that because it would slow down your Revit work. And you want Revit to be quick and responsive. So we have some placeholders in Revit, but in Enscape it will load the full quality detailed model. How to do that? Once again, really, really simple and straightforward. You just open this asset library, the asset library here, the asset library window, and it will start loading the models. Let's say I want to add another person, so I'll go to the people area here and pick the first one. Let's say we want somebody on Andy on his cross trainer here. And you just click it with your left mouse button, and then you place it in Revit like any other object you place. So you can choose the level here. I think living room level will be the right one. And you just click to place it, and it will show up in Enscape as a highly detailed model right away. So there we go. You just have a low quality, low detail placeholder in Revit to keep that neat and tidy. There is another way to place these 3D models. I'll just need to find a non-asset in here to showcase it to you. So for example, I think these chairs, no, also Enscape assets. Let's see. How about these? No, also Enscape assets, these two. So let me show you just the principle, because if you have already some Revit families in your scene that you've used for furniture, for example, or anything, you don't even need to place an actual Enscape placeholder. You can use any of your existing Revit families as placeholder. So let's say we have furniture somewhere. Let's see, we want to place this this armchair, for example. I can click these three dots at the bottom and choose link Revit family to asset. And I can just choose any of the Revit families that are already in my project. And Enscape will then just, instead of showing that family, it will show our asset. Nothing about your project changes. It will just, Enscape will just know to replace that existing family with one of our high quality assets. So even existing projects can be really improved this way really, really quickly. And by the way, if you don't like our asset library, if you're looking for one specific model, for example, you can even load in your own custom assets from OBJ, FBX, or GLTF format. So yeah, if you're creating your own 3D assets, or if you download them from any online source, using this way, you can load those into your Enscape visualization to be visualized in your Revit project without having to go through Revit at all. So once again, just a shortcut and a really useful way of working through that. We won't have the time to look at that in this session, but of course, there's tutorials out there that highlight how to do this. Or maybe during our next session, if there will be any. To Mark, looking at you here. Now, yeah, that's the 3D assets. So you can anticipate that's a great way to easily make your scene look lived in. Let's create some exports. Let's say I want to render an image. Once again, all we have to do actually is to click the necessary button. We click take screenshot. We could also render the image into your Revit project or render multiple images in one go. But I will just take one rendering here, save it on my desktop, and hit save. And well, Enscape will take the resolution we set up, full HD, render the image, and we're done. Let's see on what monitor did it end up on my desktop. Here it is. So here's our rendering. Right away, like a little camera, like doing a snapshot, really simple. Of course, we can perform some more changes to get exactly the result we are going to look at. So we can, for example, dial up the resolution to 4K or even higher. We can tell Enscape to also export an object, material, and depth channel. So we can post-produce the result later on easily, for example, in Photoshop. By the way, have a look at this rendering time for a 4K image. If anybody in the audience has rendered a 4K image faster than that with any other software, I would be really curious to hear about that. So yeah, 4K image rendered, and not just that one 4K image, but we also have a material channel, a object channel, and a depth channel, so we can create masks easily in Photoshop, so we don't have to retake the whole rendering to perform changes to just single objects in the scene, which is really, really useful. Okay. So apart from this, let's see if there's anything in the capture tab. No, yeah, so of course, for my default still image rendering, I would probably still set up some depth of fields in my visual settings as discussed earlier. So to have it, look nicely. But that's essentially everything, or that's optional, and you can decide for yourself if you want to use that or not. Essentially, that is all you need to do to create a still image rendering. So let's continue with a panorama. I think I don't have any panoramas prepared here. So yeah, to render a panorama, once again, you click just that single button. Let's take it from the interior here. Maybe let's change the sun angle again. There we are. And all I have to do, click that button. We have two buttons for that, render panorama or render panorama for cardboard. If you want to visualize your scene using a Google Cardboard mobile phone-based VR device, simply render a panorama for cardboard. It will take twice as long because it will create two panoramas. But in exchange, you will also be able to perceive depth when reviewing this panorama using a Google Cardboard. So you will see the scale of the space or your viewer. So that's great for that use case. If you just want to review the panorama on any monitor or on your mobile phone or tablet, you can go that way as well. At this point, we're rendering a panorama. Joe Mark, if there's any questions, meanwhile, I'll be happy to answer them since we have a little bit of a loading time. I hope I'm still here. I hope I'm still sharing my screen. That would be, yeah, good. didn't find that window for a second. So I hope I'm still live. Everything else would be majorly disappointing. Okay. Well, in that time, the panorama is almost finished. Seems like there is no question so far. Oh, there's a question
from Evelyn Banyares.
Yes.
Does Enscape support AutoCAD as rendering plugin?
No, we do support Revit, SketchUp, Rhino, ArchiCAD, Vectorworks at the moment, so no AutoCAD. If you want to visualize an AutoCAD scene, you would need to get it into Revit or SketchUp or something the likes.
Okay.
All right, so I've rendered my panorama at this point, and I can view it under Manage Uploads up here. And from here on, there we are. From here on, I can either export it as an image file, but I can also upload it to the Enscape cloud. By the way, all of this is, of course, included in any Enscape subscription, the assets, the Enscape cloud support, so you don't have to worry about that. And we've already uploaded it, and I can get a QR code, which I could scan with my mobile phone right away, or I could print it, for example, and put it as a sticker to the construction site or something like that. Or I can even click this link to review it in my browser and to share it with anybody right away, which I'm going to do with Joe Mark. And you can share it with the audience if you want them to have a look at it.
Yep.
You can even view this on your tablet, on your mobile phone with gyroscope activated. So you'll be able to move the phone or the tablet, and it will move your perspective. So here too, as you see, an incredibly quick way to generate beautiful content to share with anybody right away. So that's still image renderings and panoramas. Let's have a look at how to create video exports. To create a video, I can press the K key, which we see down here. By the way, 1 second. Yeah, we can press the K key down here to see a video editor, and that will open up this video editor interface. K key, opening up the video editor. K key a second time will place our first keyframe. Keyframe, symbolized in this case as a little Enscape camera, is a point in time and space that Enscape will fly through when rendering your video. So we can add keyframes also by pressing this button down here, but I feel like pressing the K key is the most convenient. And we can now literally fly through our visualization, through our project, and press K from time to time to create a perspective like that, and literally just gather nice views, nice perspectives, and Enscape will connect them automatically to an actual camera path. So I'm literally just moving through my scene and pressing K once in a while to construct my camera path. And at any point, we can just press the P key or this button down here to preview what we have so far. So you see, you can really generate videos really quickly, or plan them really quickly. But we have seen now during our preview, we hit this frame here at the meantime. So we can also jump into each keyframe by simply clicking on it. Or we can place an additional keyframe on the existing camera path by clicking on that too. So in this case, I can just place another keyframe, move a bit to the side, confirm, and we have our camera path adjusted so we are not hitting that surface or that pillar there. The same way we can enter any keyframe at any point to perform changes, fine-tune. Just remember to press apply to save your changes. And you can also enable the keying or the animation of certain parameters as discussed before. Let me maybe finish in a nice total shot. Okay, so to do that, I can, for example, go into my first keyframe and set a certain time of day. Let's say we want to start with an early morning or something. I see my sun angle is still broken from before, so I'll reset that. And let's start with some early morning. Oh yeah, that looks nice. So yeah, let's start at shortly past 5 for my first keyframe. Let's go to my last keyframe, which I can do by simply clicking on this triangle down here as well on my timeline. And let's transition to maybe this, shortly past 9. Short preview to see what it looks like. And we see now our clouds are also wandering across the sky, and the sun is rising, and we have a nice sunset. Looking good so far, but I feel like this beginning at least, or we could change the speed a bit. It's a little slow for my taste, the beginning. So let's have a look at the timestamp value here. This is being used to control the speed of my camera throughout the video. The timestamp value literally tells Enscape, reach this particular point at second whatever I choose here. So right now we're in keyframe 1, so obviously it has to be second 0, but from here on we can control it manually. So let's say I want to speed up the path before we enter our building. So right now we're reaching it at second 20. I want to reach this at second 6 and then slow down. So let's see, until here we're fast, then we want to slow down, maybe let's say up to this point. So we're reaching this right now really fast. Let's dial it back, so maybe to second 20. And let's speed up to our last position again. So let's dial this back down to second 30. This might be confusing a little bit at the moment, but really just keep in mind, whatever second you select here is when it's being reached, when this part of the video is being reached. And it's really intuitive once you've tried it once. So let's see, let's preview. We're fast, slow, and really highlight this interior. Maybe we can edit it so we now have the sun nicely shining into it. And speed up again. And end in this total shot. Okay. We could also go in and, again, animate this zoom effect, field of view, and depth of field, as discussed earlier. But in my case, I'm satisfied with that. So I'm going to check my visual settings, capture tab. I want to dial the resolution down to full HD, so it's rendering somewhat quickly. And if you've ever rendered videos before, anyone in the audience, it's likely you can't believe we're actually going to render this right now. But I'm adamant, because with Enscape, you can render videos in such an incredible speed that this 30-second video with 30 frames per second, it's probably going to be rendered in about 2, 3, 4 minutes, as you see here. So one more really, really tangible benefit in Enscape, and it being a real-time rendering software, is you can create exports in an incredible speed compared to any other solution. So at this point, I like to tell the story. Again, anybody who's rendered videos before probably knows that, but like 6 years ago, me working as a 3D artist, rendering one 30-second video in 30 frames per second. I had it optimized down to 4 minutes per image, which wasn't too bad, but still meant I would have to render for 5 days, 8 hours a day straight to have one 30-second video. And if there was any problems with it, if I needed to redo anything, you have to wait again. And yeah, here you see with Enscape, a untrained architect without knowing anything about rendering and visual CGI, you can create one such video before your first coffee break, or 5 such videos before your first coffee break to send to the client and get their feedback right away. So yeah, actually let me cancel this video here just by pressing escape. And yeah, we have this video up to that point. So Enscape is saving it automatically and correctly. And as you see, high quality and everything as expected.
Nice.
Yeah, just wanted to share that before we go to our time really flies today. Sorry for that, but actually glad to be able to share so much knowledge here. Yeah, one last point is on our list here, namely the standalone files. Once again, creating a standalone file is actually just clicking one button. So before we do that, before I show you how easy that is, I would actually like to show you how to customize your Enscape experience. So if you are preparing a presentation, for example, or if you are sharing a file like that, you don't need to share the Enscape logo and yeah, the Enscape cube with your customer. You can replace it with your own company's design and therefore create the illusion as if everything you see here in Enscape has been actually done, you know, in the old-fashioned style, everything manually, everything tediously prepared by hand. And that means you can, you know, create the illusion of having 2 weeks of work just for this single customer, just for this single presentation, when it's actually just a total of 3 clicks. So yeah, we can go with our own custom loading screen. I don't have anything prepared, so let me just go with the rendering we did before. I can come up with my own custom interface overlay, for example, your company logo. In this case, I chose the Enscape cube, of course, because it's my company. I can go with a custom icon. So I've downloaded this one here because that nicely summarizes our experience today, teaching the world, teaching the internet. And I can come up with my own custom title, which will show up here. Right. And as you see, you can customize all of that in the General Settings Customization tab. So now that we've done that, let me click Export, exe standalone, and hit Save. And now Enscape will take roughly as long as it takes to open, and it will pack everything in one single file that doesn't need any additional software to be executed, doesn't need an additional Enscape license to be executed. So essentially, you're getting one file that anybody who has a machine that meets our system requirements can execute, and you can create them with just one click. So if you want to send your client a weekly or daily update of an Enscape copy to roam through and explore on their own pace, you can do that. And there we are. It is. You won't get this into one email. It is 650 megabytes here. But if you upload it somewhere, maybe on your website if you want to, you can share it with anybody. And here it is. As you see, it has our custom icon. It has our custom loading screen as soon as we see it. Did I click correctly? Oh, yeah, I think I did. So, yeah. Or I didn't. There we are. So yeah, and as you see, it opens once again in a separate Enscape window. And this is really identical to your Enscape experience, minus the connection to Revit. So of course, you can no longer change anything about this project, but you can do everything with it that you can do inside of Enscape. You can change rendering styles like white mode and lighting analysis mode. You can enable VR. You can change the movement speed, etc. You can change the daytime. Still loading. Are we done? Still our custom loading screen we see here. There we are. Now it's opened, and as mentioned, you have the same experience as in Enscape. You can change the daytime. You can go to the settings and change. I'm not sure why they're in German right now, but you can change these. So yeah, really same thing as an Enscape. You can create your own little Enscape experiences with just one click. By the way, if somebody doesn't have the same or a computer that meets our system requirements, oh, I opened it twice. Aha, got it. Yeah, that's why it took so long. So if somebody doesn't have a computer with those system requirements, you can also upload this as a web standalone, which has a different quality. There we are. But can be run in your browser with less strict graphics card hardware requirements. And once again, you can share the link right away. I'm going to do that once it's uploaded. But that's it. That is really most of what you need to know to be confident in Enscape. I hope you have been. I hope it was interesting. I hope you've learned something. Of course, you can always get in contact with us. You can hit the feedback button at any point to reach out to us, to our support team, and ask any questions. Reach out to us in our forums, etc. I'm sure you can also check back with Joe, Mark, and Elsie to get in contact. Any way we can help you with creating great, stunning visualizations with Enscape, we're happy to assist you with that. But that's my overview for today. I think we can start the Q&A if there's any questions.
Yep. Once more, thank you so much, Kaj.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Miss Nelsie, are you still there? Anyways, first question. Yeah, thank you for joining us, Ma'am Evelyn Banyares. Actually, I was supposed to learn Revit, 3ds Max, Substance, and then going to Arnold.
You can do that, but you don't need to. Let's give it quicker.
Right now, I have a change of mind already.
Good.
Anyways, oh my God. Anyways, first question. Is this free for students? Do we have a free student version?
It is. Let me show you. On our website, enscape3d.com, scroll all the way to the bottom. Why is this? This shouldn't be German. Let me go to English. So there we are. Leave me alone. So at the very bottom of our website, enscape3d.com, you can go for free student license. There it is.
Nice.
Just need to apply, and we're going to send it to you as soon as possible.
For our friends who are using BricsCAD, is Enscape compatible with BricsCAD?
Yes, it actually is. There is an Enscape version for BricsCAD available, but it is being distributed by BricsCAD. So you would have to go to their website and order through them. But yes, there is an Enscape BricsCAD plugin available. Yeah.
Okay. We'll check on that as well. Another question, can we integrate Substance to Enscape? Can we use Substance with Enscape?
There is no real plugin for that. So if you can, you can of course use Substance and export the textures from there and just feed them into Revit and use them there. So it's not connected entirely, but you should be able to use it that way. In general, if you can get it into Revit as a working material, so if you have substance for Revit in any kind, and you have a working material in Revit that way, it should also work fine with Enscape.
Okay. Uh, okay. How about the wind speed? Can we control the wind speed for the grass swaying or the trees moving?
Yes, we can. Under the atmosphere tab here, we have a wind area
Okay.
where you can change the wind intensity and the angle too. You can even, if you want to, break the wind speed and direction for individual water surfaces, but usually that isn't necessary. I think it's probably better to have the equal wind behavior throughout the scene. But yeah, you can change it.
Nice. And I think this is the last. From Jason Figueroa, can Enscape families be viewable in other softwares like Lumion?
No, these are not available or they're not included as free models or anything to be used in other software. These are Enscape exclusive. So of course, in all the CADs that we support, they are available and can be used with Enscape. But our high quality models, you cannot just export them and load them in any other software.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm adding Miss Nelsie.
Hi,
Do you have
Nestle.
comments?
Ayan. So, hi, Kaj. Thank you for sharing, no? And all our viewers are so like overwhelmed and serious. Like they had doesn't have like any more questions, no?
No more questions. I have this more often than you would expect. It seems my presentation answers all questions. Good to hear that.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
very.
I think most of the time people just want to try it out already.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Everyone, actually, I've tried it. I've launched it a while ago, and I'm seeing quick rendering, easy as
Yeah,
that.
yeah, easy as that.
So
Exactly.
you made us all very excited to use.
Good to hear that. That's our mission.
Yep. So once more, link provided for the download been shared here. And Miss Nasi, do we have a while ago we made we have a contest, right?
Yeah, so overview, Kaj, we invite people to invite or add members to our groups, no?
Hmm.
So it's Autodesk Revit User Group Philippines. So we open it like for 10 people, no? And we only have 5 who invited members. So our winners for 3 months LinkedIn career and LinkedIn learning subscription. Ayan, Mr. Alvin Jan, MG Beltran, Pradip Guada, Ronald Castillo, and Murtayag. So most of the people uh, who won are really our supporters, no? Who are always there whenever we are going live.
Great.
Okay. Nice, nice. So, yep. Once more, thank you so much, Kaj. And yeah, we hope to have a repeat with you, of course, next year.
Hmm.
Okay,
Looking
because
forward to that.
yeah, every person actually we bring in by thousands actually to Autodesk technology, and because we have partnered with Enscape, will be we are required to inform everyone as well. So we have new students every year. It's thousands, so we need to share the Enscape advocacy. So once more, I'm saying to you, inviting you next year for another round, probably with other softwares as well. And yeah, hoping to spread the Enscape love, the joy
Thank
of
you.
rendering
Great.
with
Yeah, do that. Looking forward
with.
to that. Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Okay, so once more, thank you everyone. And Miss Nancy, are we going to have certificates for those who attended?
Yeah, it's ano no. So we have like around 40 people who who viewed or who watched our session, no, but they haven't like registered. Not all of them registered, no. So please, I am inviting you to register for you to receive an official certificate of event participation.
Okay. Okay, that was, I thought this was really a short one, Kaj. But
Not for me.
we
Usually,
managed. We managed to reach 2 hour movie.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
That was yeah, perfect timing. Thanks a lot. Okay,
Yep. Once more, thank you so much,
thank you.
Kaj.
See you next
Bye
time.
bye.
Bye.
Yep. And once more, thank you everyone to all who joined, and congratulations to all of the winners. Tama po, no? Enscape, napakadali. Imagine that, no? Creating a movie, making a render as quick as that. Seconds lang nung pinakita ni Kaj. Ayan. Okay, so once more, thank you so much, and iiwan namin sa inyo itong video na to. Do we have another training upcoming, Miss Nelsie?
For Autodesk Community Philippines, I think it will be the last for this year, no? Since next week pala is Christmas na. So it's
Wow.
25. So I think people are all in like holidays and vacations if ever. Okay, no. So stay tuned. So our first training for 20, I sorry. We have on December 20. Get your Autodesk certificate or the awarding of certificates, no? So magki-claim na ng course ID, no? So sama na rin kayo yung mga attendee tonight. So mag-awarding tayo ng Sunday. Okay, so iti-take note ko 'yan. Sa Sunday nyo maki-claim yung certificate nyo. So make sure na tune in kayo ng Sunday. So 2 p.m. para sa maklaim nyo yung inyong certificate, no? And also, ayan, this session is for the people who attended the following training. So first is the CAD for Dummies conducted last November 20 and 21. It's in partnership with Machine Design Summit with the UP Diliman team and other school. Okay, the second one is the part modeling and assembly in Fusion 360 with University of Batangas. Okay, so if may mga viewers tayo coming from University of Batangas tonight, please do inform all that will be having the awarding of certificates on Sunday. And yung mga umattend ng Design a Hand Phone Stand, okay, in partnership with Kalayaan National High School. Okay, so December 11 naman ito, ginanap, no? So, inviting you din na mag-join kayo this Sunday, 2 p.m. Okay, tapos yung tonight na training, no? Yung getting started with Enscape. So, bukas, sa Sunday nyo rin siya makiklaim, no? Tapos, yung kanina, yung AutoCAD natin, no? So, yung AutoCAD natin is for 3D modeling, part 1 and 2. So, hindi pa natin siya marirelease sa Sunday kasi po magpapasa pa po kayo ng output, no? So, I think
Mm.
na-explain naman po namin kanina na na magpapasa kayo ng output, no, for certificate of course completion. Okay? And sa mga nanalo ng LinkedIn learning tonight, so please do message Autodesk Community Philippines, no, para ma-claim nyo, no. And kung meron na kayong previous subscription na nakuha sa amin, is hindi nyo na po yun pwedeng i-add, no, sa inyong current subscription, no? So, kayo na pong bahala kung kanino nyo ibibigay yon. So, basta ang sa amin po is kung nanalo kayo, is ibibigay namin yung link, no? So, bahala
Yep.
na po kayo kung kanino nyo siya i-dispose.
Yeah, magandang pamasko yan.
Yes. Okay, and yung first na seminar natin or workshop for 2021 ay to. AutoCAD 2021 Essential Training. So magkakaroon po tayo next year. So January 14. Ito po ang unang Autodesk software training natin for 2021. So inviting everyone to join AutoCAD 2021 Essential Training. Okay? So it will be on January 14. Okay? And yun, sa mga hindi pa nakaka-join sa Meetup, inviting din po na please do join us dahil dito na rin po tayo mostly magpo-post ng mga ating upcoming Autodesk software training. Okay? And marami nang nagme-message no sa ating Meetup.
Oo.
And yung nasagot ko naman na, no? So may mga bago lang talagang nagme-message, no? So ang claiming po ng course ID ay sa Sunday. So dapat nandoon po kayo. And sa Sunday din, magkakaroon din pala tayo ng awarding, no, sa yung kinonduct na CAD for Dummies, no? So ang ano natin doon, ang mapapanalunan or ang i-raffle natin sa Sunday is yung dalawang Asus 30th backpack, no? So na-mention po yon last live. Kung sino yung makakapasa ng output, yun yung mga isasama sa raffle. Okay, so out of 300 participants, so I think nasa 50 plus lang yung may output, no? So more chances of winning kasi hindi na kayo 300, no? So nag-down na lang to 50. Ayun. So yun, sa mga umattend ng CAD for Dummies na training, stay tuned kayo sa Sunday kasi i-raffle natin yung dalawang Asus 30th backpack. So may dalawang winners tayo ng backpack sa Sunday. Okay. Ano pa ba? So far, ayun lang naman, no? And yan, Merry Christmas to all. Christmas na next week.
Ayan. Okay. So, once more, thank you so much po sa lahat ng mga umattend and Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas po. Ayan. Okay.
Ayan. So, teka lang sir, recap ko lang yung ating registration form, no? So, kailangan po naka-register kayo ha, kasi pag baka magki-claim kayo ng certificate nyo for Enscape pero hindi naman po kayo naka-register. So, kailangan po ay naka-register kayo, no? So, ayun nga, as I mentioned, no, so kanina is nasa 40 plus viewers tayo pero ang nag-register lang ay 13. So, ibig sabihin 13 lang ang makaka-receive ng certificate. Okay? So, ayun lang po. Yan, Sir Jomark, may sasabihin ka pa po.
Yun lang. Thank you so much ulit sa lahat. And yeah, goodbye and Merry Christmas. Bye-bye po. Bye, Miss Nels.
Bye!
Looking to unleash your creativity? Enscape is a real-time rendering plugin that integrates smoothly into your design workflow. Compatible with SketchUp, Revit, ArchiCAD, Rhino, and Vectorworks. It connects seamlessly into your BIM and CAD software, easy to use and no prior knowledge required. With just one click, you can create 3D visualizations, and within seconds, you can find yourself exploring your fully rendered project. Experience a building before it's built. Virtual reality will enable you to create immersive experiences that communicate your ideas and engage your audience. Thanks to live link technology, project changes can be viewed in real time, which means they're immediately visible to yourself, your team, or your clients. Collaboration in real-time rendering is easy. Capture and communicate annotated feedback and make design reviews more efficient. Export functions such as high-resolution images, panorama, video, and standalone files give you multiple ways to present your projects. Enscape has transformed architectural visualization into something accessible for everyone, making it a powerful tool to use in daily workflows. With fast rendering times and ease of use, it gives you more time to focus on designing, modeling, and texturing your projects. See how effortless it is to create high-quality renders with Enscape, and sign up for a free 14-day trial today.